Okay, so here we go, back at it again. Welcome to another Listens of the Month. If you notice, seems like a nuke is going off outside perpetually. It's a little late in the day, so the sun's just shining like right on my face. So we're gonna ignore that because I'm gonna make myself smaller anyway, and I got football going on. Let's just go ahead and get into it. We're doing the month of October. All right, first listen of October is the newest album from Code Orange, The Above. So I only listened to this once during October. I didn't even really go back to it, so I've only heard it twice, like overall. I just really haven't felt the urge to go back to it. I mean, it's a fine album, but it doesn't really interest me in the way that Underneath did when that was first released. It's not a bad album, but I think they really wear a lot of their influences like directly on their sleeves, so it's like kind of like the elephant in the room, you know? Still, there's good songs on here like Take Shape and Mirror, The Game, Grooming My Replacement, Drone Opting Out of the Hive. Overall, it's okay. I went back and revisited Necrophagists and their first album, Onset of Putrefaction. This is tech death gold right here. Like, this is pretty much a must listen if you're like into technical death metal, just like really exciting guitar playing in general. Like the precision and the songs on here are excellent. I remember just getting my mind absolutely blown by this album and a few of the songs on it while listening to it while getting stoned with a few friends, like way back in the day, years ago. Yeah, Intestinal Incubation has always been like pretty much my favorite Necrophages song. Culinary Hyperversity is another great one. Advanced Corpse Tumor, Extreme Unction. It's just a great album, front to back. Then listen to the first album from Stone Temple Pilots, Core. It really is a classic album. Tons of great songs on here. Really looking forward to seeing them at Aftershock when they came through. And they did put on a good show. Like, there's a ton of great songs on here. Wicked Garden and Dead and Blood are a couple of my favorites. Sex Type Thing, it's so good. As well as Plush and Creep and a handful of other tracks. Then listen to The Spaghetti Incident from Guns N' Roses, a collection of cover songs that are done relatively well. Lots of punk rock tracks on here, which is really cool. Nothing too notable, really. That's all I'll say about that. Then, upon recommendation by my roommate, I listened to Kim Dracula and the album A Gradual Decline in Morale. And this album really kind of just knocked me off my feet. Like, this album really is kind of sporadic and random and chaotic, but it's also cohesive at the same time. Like, it blends so many different genres. Like, there's these crushing, low-tuned, metalcore-esque breakdowns that are so slow and sludgy and destructive. And then there's these pop-punk sequences that are just like, energetic. And then there's these, like, just freaky hip-hop like breaks that like have just like the most insane rapping. It's a very, very interesting record, and I very much did enjoy it quite a lot. I strongly recommend it. Then I listened to Baroness live at Maida Vale. I believe that's what it is. BDC Session 1. I think this is a little live EP, and it's fine. You know, I love the songs on here. I like hearing their songs in a different light. I did just go see them late October, and they put on an amazing show. Lots of Baroness this month for sure. And we got SeeYouSpaceCowboy and the split with If I Die First, A Sure Disaster. 3 excellent songs on here, like without a doubt. And a good little bridge from their second album to the third album, in my opinion. Then I give another listen to the newest from Avenged Sevenfold, Life is But a Dream. Truly a pretty interesting album, in my opinion. The first half is pretty gold, honestly, which is kind of the case with most Avenged Sevenfold albums. I guess it depends, but very, very experimental. It's kind of like Notorious right now, and this was in anticipation of them performing at Aftershock, and they were great. And the songs they played after this album and the songs they played off of this album were great. I've gone back to We Love You and Mattel and even Nobody quite often. Alright, further Aftershock anticipation, listen to the newest from Limp Bizkit and Still Sucks. Real short album, but it really wastes no time. The songs are punchy, in your face, and just energetic. This sounds like a logical follow-up to Chocolate Starfish. Like, this could come out in the mid-2000s and it would like fit right in. I mean, maybe some of the lyrics are a bit more, like, obviously, like, modern. They have, like, a more modern twist to them, obviously, but, yeah, a solid album, honestly. I liked it a lot more than a lot of their other material. It's a very Limp Bizkit record. After that, we got the third album from SeeYouSpaceCowboy, The Romance of Affliction. Yeah, big step up in quality and songwriting, and a whole lot more clean vocals. Like, this album really sets them apart from like their older work, and as well as within like the post-hardcore, metalcore genre already, because it's sasscore. There's a name for it. You know, they really are their own sound to an extent, but it also sounds like this could have been written in like the mid 2000s and did good numbers. You know, it fits right in with that post-hardcore emo type sound with these crushing riffs and breakdowns and epic vocals scattered throughout. The end to a brief moment of lasting intimacy is one of my favorite songs by them, as well as Misinterpreting Constellations, and they were a treat to see, even though I saw the last like 15 minutes of their set at Aftershock. Alright, we got Death Heaven and their album Infinite Granite, their latest release, and I didn't really get too much from it. I thought it was better than Ordinary Corrupt Human Love, but it's not really a memorable release at all. There are a couple songs on here that I'm like, okay, yeah, that's cool. But I think the very last song on this one is the one that they actually finally explode with a black metal passage. It's just like, I was waiting for that the entire time. What the hell, guys? It was okay, but they have better albums, in my opinion. And they had quite the performance at Aftershock. Alright. So did these guys, Bad Omens, digging them quite a lot. This is their album, The Death of Peace of Mind, and I strongly recommend it. Really tons of great songs on here, whether it's Just Pretend or the title track. Concrete Jungle's a great track too. And they open up with Artificial Suicide, and that song goes harder than a bag of bricks. Holy crap. Alright, and moving on to Parkway Drive. I didn't catch their set because I was waiting for Sleep Token, but I heard that their show was absolutely insane. Like, everything was on fire, the drums were upside down, perfect crowd interaction, like crowd participation, and all that. But this is their newest album, and I do not recommend it. It did absolutely nothing for me. It's like their last three albums are just not very good at all, even if they've done the most numbers. It's just it's such a generic, like, played out sound, like octane core style, very formulaic and cliche, I would say. I think this is like the worst out of the three, so I don't recommend it. We got Polyphia with Remember That You Will Die. Not my favorite Polyphia release, but there's still a lot of great songs on here that are quirky and memorable, like ABC or the excellent Playing God and Ego Death, and of course the very excellent Bloodbath, featuring none other than Chino Moreno, one of my favorite frontman in general. Not a bad album, and they put on like just the perfect show at Aftershock, honestly. Alright, then we got the newest from Queens of the Stone Age, In Times New Roman. I thought this was a very solid album front to back. Nothing too stand out, but it was still an enjoyable listen. I do like the track Carnivore, and Emotion Sickness is a good track as well. And holy crap, they put on such a good show at Aftershock. I do think this is a better album than Villains. Not by much, but I don't know. With Queens of the Stone Age, like, I dig it. I like the sound. I like the style. I like the swag. It's got a great attitude. Like the sound of the band, like their whole discography. But I do miss Caius, and I know like some people are gonna hate just hearing that, but it's just my personal taste. Alright, then the infamous Chinese Democracy from Guns N' Roses. So this is a very interesting album. While I do like a few songs on here, notably the song Better, I like that one a lot, and they played it when I saw them. And the title track's not too bad either. There's some good stuff on here, honestly, but at the same time, it is very strange. It's definitely like all over the place, and it doesn't sound like classic Guns N' Roses. There's a lot of modern twists and weird decisions in the production, and like there's so many people involved with the project, and you can tell, like, it shows. Like, Buckethead just comes in and just does these wild ass solos that are clearly him, and like that's basically like all you get from him. It sounds like a lot of it I didn't care for, but I did think it was really cool that the song There Was a Time was produced and like I think even co-written by Billy Howerdel, and I absolutely love Billy Howerdel so much. And it clearly does sound like something that he would have his fingers in. Alright, the newest from Suicide Silence, Remember You Must Die. While I do believe this is the strongest release with Eddie, it's still a very mid album. There's definitely a lot of strong material on here, a lot of really cool moments and breakdowns and riffs, but it still really doesn't seem to have like its own identity. I mean, at least the self-titled album, like you can really pick up on like the ethos of that album and like how it was made and whatnot, and how the sound of that album is very coalesced. But each of their other albums with Eddie don't really have that. Still, it does sound like they're having fun, they're having a blast, and they're putting together like really heavy riffs and chunky grooves that like you can just lose your mind to. So they put on a good show, even though like the last half of it was ruined because my phone was basically stolen right out of my pocket. Moving on, Crowbar, Zero and Below. First listen post Aftershock, I guess you could say. Dug this one quite a bit. That was a big improvement from the past two albums before this one. Cemetery Angels stands out for me big time. That song rocks. Dug this one quite a lot. The sound was good, the production was good, like the tone, the songwriting. It's a very cohesive record. It's not among my favorite Crowbar records, but it's still well done. New Crosses album. I'm so hype. I'm so happy, and it is good. It's a good album. I don't think it's nearly as good as their full-length debut. I'm just so happy that there's a whole lot more Crosses material, even though we just did get an EP last year. This is going to require many more re-listens. I did listen to it twice in October for sure, and it's chock full of very, very solid songs. I think Big Youth with LP is a very solid hip-hop touch track. The first single, Invisible Hand, like, was not expecting them to put out a song that went that hard. Like, what the hell? And there's other great songs too. Girls Float, Boys Cry with Robert Smith was quite lovely and a heartstring puller at the same time. Pulse Plaid goes hard. It's a really cool track, and Pleasure as well. Yeah, excited to dig more into this one. Give a re-listen to KX5 and their self-titled project. Dead Mouse and Cascade, because why the hell not? They've shown in the past, like more than once, that they are very capable of collabing and putting out absolute gold. So an entire album of that is great. And I've touched on this before at least once, but yeah, it's a really solid album. Take Me Higher, Avalanche, great songs. Alive is good. Eat Sleep stands out as well, but Escape is like that favorite, that top of the heap right there. Love it. Alright, Mastodon with Once More Around the Sun. Definitely one of their better releases, for sure. Absolutely love this record. I always listen to the song Halloween on Halloween. It really is solid front to back. Like, there's no songs that I don't actually care for. I think, like, every song has something special, like to it. Like, it's solid from front to back. I absolutely love Tread Lightly. It's such a solid opener. The Mother Lode is one of my favorite Mastodon tracks, period. The title track is great. High Ground is heavy. Chimes at Midnight is great. Diamond in the Witch House is a great closer. Great little stoner-esque sludge track. Ember City has like just an amazing chorus. And Asleep in the Deep is probably my favorite track on here. I love it quite a lot. Even though I guess you could call it like the chorus for that song is just so weird when there's so many different layered vocals and melodies and harmonies on top of one another. It just doesn't exactly fit, but I digress. It's a very solid album. And I listened to Suffocation and Breathing the Spawn. I think the production on this one's a little bit lacking, but the songs on here are very, very solid. Even if it's a messy one, I didn't dislike it at all. I listened to In Flames with Horacle. Very, very solid release, front to back. Lots of great songs, great guitar tone, very well put together album. Hard to say whether I like this one or the Jester Race more. Hell, even Lunar Strain. But this early sound was really, trend-setting, I guess you could say. And I listened to Chevelle with This Type of Thinking Could Do This, and give it a couple listens, I'm going to go ahead and say it easily has some of their best songs. I think it is better than Wonder What's Next. I know about Tug of War because of Off of Fury 3. So it always takes me back to that. Vitamin R is one of their best songs, period. The Clincher's great. Get Some, Still Running. I actually heard Still Running blasting out of a car as I was like at my corner store, like and there's a car at the intersection. I can hear still running, playing the car, and I switched through like the rock radio, like local rock radio stations, to hear if it was playing. I guess not. They were just actually just listening to Chevelle. I thought that was so cool. And another Know It All is a great song on here. Just front to back, there's really no bad tracks on here whatsoever. All right, Opeth in Cauda Veninum. I think Veninum, whatever. I listened to the Swedish version, and it definitely sounds like a more natural version, I guess you could say. Like, it really is just like an astonishing achievement to write an entire album in both English and in Swedish and have it still sound natural and good. Great melodies, great vocal harmonies as well. I would say this is the best album vocally for Michael Åkerfeldt when it comes to clean singing. When it comes to actually singing, I don't really think any other album comes close. I mean, maybe you could argue Ghost Reveries or Damnation, but just throughout this album, very, very well written. Love it quite a bunch. It's one of my favorite Opeth records. I'm going to strongly recommend it. Excellent. Very excellent. Also, it celebrated a birthday, which is why I revisited it. So did this album, Tool with Anima. It's a masterpiece. Go listen to it. That's all I'm going to say. Holy crap. God damn it. They were so good at Aftershock. Go listen to the album. Alright. Gojira, The Way of All Flesh, also celebrate the birthday. I don't know why I'm talking so weird. Another masterpiece that I'm just going to say go listen to. It's right up there with Tool's Anima for me in terms of like how I rank my favorite albums of all time. My favorite Gojira album, not by much. Go listen to it. It's a masterpiece. Love it so much. Alright, Meshuggah's The Violent Sleep of Reason. This one also celebrated its birthday in October. And honestly, it's really, really friggin' good. For it to be recorded the way it was, like it was all recorded live, and for it to still sound that tight is truly a testament to how insanely talented these guys are. Clockwork is one of their best songs. The title track is one of my favorites. Nostrum, Born in Dissonance. And there are a couple good songs on here too, but the rest is kind of meh. So it is kind of all over the place in terms of like overall quality for my personal taste, but it is still like a very solid record. Alright, gave a listen to the first Strapping Young Lad record. Heavy is a really heavy thing. First two songs, SYL and In the Rainy Season, easily some of the best Strapping Young Lad songs, like period. Then all the rest of it is just kind of filler and crap. Like, I kind of like how funny Goat is and the filler Sweet City Jesus. Interesting riffs here and there, and Critic is pretty cool. But other than that, even Devin will agree, like, yeah, the quality is quite lacking. Alright, next up, the final release. Well, I mean, for now, until we hopefully finally get a new one. Morbid Angel's Kingdom's Disdain, released back in 2017. And this album sounds weird. Like, the production is so muddled and muddy and just, it sounds off. Like, it sounds, like, really friggin' brutal and, like, kicks your ass. But the songs, as a result, don't really come off as very memorable. And it's not their strongest batch of songs either. Like, there's some good stuff on here, but it's still a far cry from what they did pre-Heretic. Next up, Slice the Cake and Odyssey to the West. I'm not going to speak on any of the allegations, I guess, that have been coming out lately, but I saw this album posted in a Facebook group, and, you know, because, like, they're like, whoever posted said this was like underrated, like this is truly one of the best metalcore albums of all time, etc., etc. And I saw nothing but universal praise for this album, and like absolutely no disagreement, like nothing but love for this. So I gave it a listen, and it is a concept album. It's very lengthy, and I haven't really bothered to look into the story, but it is a very consistent album. There's great quality songs from front to back. Very well written, like great passages. Like it's got a western twang to it, but it's very much straight up like progressive metalcore. Gonna go ahead and say like this is definitely something you should check out if you like concept records and like great quality production. I did listen to the remastered version. Yeah, this was just like a flash in the pan thing. Like there's never going to be something else from this band again, and I think for good reason too. But I'm not gonna touch on that. Still, check it out. Let's do Chevelle's follow-up to this type of thing we'll do us in. Venusera. Gave it a couple listens, like this type of thinking, and it's definitely not as good. I would say this is one of the weaker Chevelle releases. Not to say that it's bad, because there is some good stuff on here. Safer Waters, Well Enough Alone, or the killer single, I Get It. But this album was really produced like a rock album that was really trying to just have songs that sounded great for radio. So it didn't really seem like there was a lot of edge on this one. Songs were a bit more easier to listen to than other releases. Not to say that there's like the songs on here don't rock, because they do, but it's just as an overall project it was slightly lacking. Not to say that it's a bad album. All right, Baroness, Yellow and Green. I'm gonna strongly recommend this one from front to back. It's such a solid album. It gave me a newfound appreciation for Green as well. I love the song Collapse. Psalms Alive is a great track as well. And obviously Yellow has some of their best songs like March to the Sea, Cocainium, Eula, Little Things. It's so good. It's just a solid double project. Alright, In Flames with Colony. Bit of an odd one. I thought it was okay. Not as memorable as other albums in this era. You know, just like the other albums, there's a lot of great melodic riffs and really powerful songs. You start to notice like a slight change in their sound that they later fully develop on their next couple albums. But it's not a bad album at all. Alright, next up we got Baroness with Purple. Strongly recommend this one. I think this is their best album, hands down. So many great songs on it, whether it's Shock Me, Morning Star, Try to Disappear is so good. Kerosene is so good. Even Chlorine and Wine was just so solid. And they ended up playing that one when I saw them as well. I think overall my favorite song here has to be If I Have to Wake Up, Will You Stop the Rain. It's such a solid album. Produced very well, consistent front to back. No bad songs at all. Alright, next up, I am excited to dive deep into this band a bit more, even though they are like brand new, I guess you could say. Fleshwater and their album We're Not Here to Be Loved. This is very much a Deftones core record, but it's done so well, and it has such an edge and such a sound to it that combines like shoegaze and like hardcore, and it's the way it just comes together is so well done. Was not expecting it to have female vocals, so like overall this whole project pleasantly surprised me. Even though this album's less than half an hour, I'm really anticipating diving deep into it again, as well as like the rest of their catalog, even though it's like very short. I think it's a demo and that's it. Strongly recommend, honestly. Alright, next up, Blonde Redhead, Penny Sparkle. This is easily like their most stripped down minimalist album like to date, but at the same time it's so sensual and powerful and kind of downtrodden. Like just these minor key songs that are just so gentle. Like this is easily their gentlest work, but it's so good at the same time. There's so many great songs on here. That's easily the best word to describe this album, is gentle. In a way it makes you feel uneasy, but yet so comfortable at the same time. These are comforting songs, but behind it is just this void of uncertainty. It's so well done. Strongly recommend. Alright, listen to the EP My Dear Melancholy from The Weeknd. Overall, it's okay. I think Call Out My Name's a very, very solid song. Really no bad songs on here at all, honestly. It's just like a little batch of songs that he put out like as a little EP. I'm assuming songs that like wouldn't fit on future releases, because like it was right after this EP where he like really made his sound a whole lot more pop, and like I'm really anticipating finally getting into those albums and hearing what it sounds like. Mudvayne with Lost and Found. First time listen for me, and a lot of their old sound is there, you know, like a lot of the edge, but like there's no mathy riffs, there's not really as much screaming. Lots of great radio rock-esque songs on here. Like I love the song Determined. That song will always remind me of Need for Speed Underground 2. Forget to Remember is good. Happy is a great song. Fallen to Sleep's a good track too. It's not bad, it's just not what not the input I overall enjoy from Mudvayne. Alright, then we got the EP from Humanity's Last Breath, Detester. Holy crap. I strongly recommend this EP. It is so heavy, and it is so well crafted and well written. Like from front to back, it is just pummeling, just dark, heavy, angry, heavy, low, mathy riffs that are just relentless, punishing. I can't say enough good things about it, honestly. Alright, next up, Project Echo from Devin Townsend. This was just like a little like synthy, kind of new wave, ambient, kind of mini 3-song project that was attached to the end of Accelerate Evolution, the special edition. And it's fine. It's alright. It's just like a little project. A few neat songs, but you know, nothing too special. Then I listened to his Punky Brewster album, Cooked on Phonics. It's a satirical album making fun of the rise of pop punk in the mid-90s. It's just how easy it is to make music like that, just poking fun at the whole concept. It's a funny album. It's got a few good songs on it. Of course, he's got Ivanhoe, Fake Punk, Easy Money. Real funny. Really funny album. And I gave a re-listen to Recovery, and I remember really liking this album and thinking it was definitely one of Eminem's best. But, you know, there's a lot of songs on here and a lot of lyrics on here that are not very good. They don't hold up well. I mean, don't get me wrong. There are a few tracks on here that I think are absolutely excellent. I think Cold Wind Blows is fine for an opener. But Talking to Myself and On Fire, a couple great songs. And there are a few songs on here where his state of mind at the time is like really well written and put to paper, I guess you could say. And then there's just songs that are just not. They're just not nearly on the same level as his first 3 albums. Not counting Infinite, obviously. Everybody forgets about that one. But, you know, Not Afraid is not a bad single, as overplayed as it was. I still think Love the Way You Lie is the better track. Cinderella Man's a great song. No Love's a great track. Spacebound is probably like one of my favorites on here, like hands down. But if I had to like actually pick a favorite from this album, it would easily be Won't Back Down. Not only does that song go harder than a bag of bricks, but it's just punchline after punchline after zinger after zinger, joke after joke, all tied together just unbelievably. And there are a few songs like this on here where it's just like joke after joke, pun after pun, similes and metaphors and plays on words, etc., etc. Yeah. Overall, it's a fine album. It's not one of his best upon realism, but yeah. Alright, then we got Baroness with Gold and Grey. After listening to Purple, this one just sounds like a huge step down in quality, mostly because like it's so bricked out and the songs sound like crap. Like, I don't know if the recording was bad or just the mixing and compression was really bad, but it makes these songs sound like crap. And there's a lot of songs on here I don't care for, but it does include some of their best songs ever written. Tourniquet, I'd Do Anything, Cold-Blooded Angels, Borderlines. Broken Halo's a solid track. I do like Pale Sun, the closing song. Seasons is interesting because like there's some like blast beats in it, which is really cool. But overall, it's okay. All right, we got In Flames with Clayman. I strongly recommend this one. I do believe this is easily one of their best albums, and for good reason. Just killer shrieking vocals throughout from Anders. Every single song is great, like from front to back of this album. Nothing but great quality work. Like everything just came together on this album for them, and it's great. It's a classic for a reason. All right, then I listened to Wage War and their album Blueprints, a very solid metalcore record from front to back with quite the mission statement. Like it's heavy. It's got a great blend of styles within the metalcore genre. A great blend of just songs on here too. Very heavy, great riffs, great melodies and vocals. Dug it quite a bit. Been a while since I've listened to it too. Next up, strongly recommend this one. Chevelle with Sci-Fi Crimes. I think this is their best album in my opinion. From front to back, there's no bad tracks, endless good songs, a handful of awesome great songs too, like Sleep Apnea, Jars, Shameful Metaphors, Mexican Sun. Letter to a Thief is fantastic as well. Roswell's Spell, Fell Into Your Shoes, This Circus. It's just great throughout the whole album, honestly. Next up, Iron Maiden, Somewhere in Time. A neat record. It doesn't sound like it's like a cohesive story, like a concept record, but the songs that do follow the theme are very solid. And of course, Wasted Years is one of the best Iron Maiden songs. Dug it quite a bit, honestly. I think the synths add a really neat touch to the overall song. The album's really written well. I don't think I like it as much as albums before this, but it's still pretty good. All right, I got Karmanjaka in their self-titled EP. I guess that's how you pronounce it. Really interesting. A bit more of like a spacey kind of gent-ish little metalcore album. Really progressive too. It's very much a progressive release. Interested to see how their other work sounds, because I've heard some good things about them. And gave a listen to Alice in Chains and their latest album. It's been 5 years now. Rainier Fog. Overall, I think this is probably the weakest Alice in Chains album. I really wish William had a lot more room to shine on this album, which he kind of does on Never Fade, but I wish we got a whole lot more of that. And there's some decent tracks on here, like Maybe. So Far Under's pretty damn good. The One You Know is pretty solid. The title track is great. But overall, it's just decent. It's solid. Alright, we got a classic right here, Mayhem, and De Mysterious Don Satanis. Of course, I'm butchering that. First release from them, and I kind of feel bad for people whose first exposure to black metal is this album, because like while like the instrumentals on here are fantastic and are really fundamental when it comes to the black metal genre, the vocals are just like so bad. It's just cringe. It's like making fun of the genre. There's not like it's kind of laughable in some parts. Like, sorry if that's like blasphemy, but like for most of this record, it's just like these weird like gurgly, like moany, groany, just creaks. These vocal creaks. It's not done very well. I mean, there are a couple parts where it works, and a couple parts where it's changed up, where it's actually kind of cool. But yeah, not a fan of vocals on this one. Moving on from there, August Burns, Constellations, really solid album from front to back. Really dug this one. Like all throughout, I thought it was very consistent. You know, great foundation that like holds this album together. I wish it was a bit more memorable. I remember liking Messengers a bit more, but pretty much every song on here is great. Mariana's Trench and Whitewash are obviously fantastic songs. But yeah, looking forward to moving along with their discography. We got the latest from Baroness, revisited it, and yeah, I'd say it's probably their weakest release overall. The production is a huge improvement from Gold and Grey, but there's still great songs on here. I think the first half of the album is far superior than the second half. Didn't really get much out of the second half, like at all. But Bloom is a good song. Beneath the Rose is fantastic, and I love the way that goes into choir and then the dirge. And Last Word is a great kickoff song. It's how they open up their show. Really solid tunes. But overall, they definitely have better stuff. Alright, listen to Alsace with Les Voyages de Yame. Of course, I'm going to butcher this French band's freaking titles. Dug it quite a bit. I don't think I dug it quite as much as their earlier material, but there's some beautiful passages, some great clean guitar, and great just epic, powerful black metal moments, obviously, and it's just done so well. Like they're definitely masters of their craft. I listened to Homicidal Ecstasy, the latest album from Sanguisugabog. And honestly, this album's freaking heavier than balls. It's so low tuned, and the production is so just gritty. The drumming, the sound of that snare, just throughout. There's just so many heavy tracks, and so many heavy sections, so many heavy riffs. Excellent record, excellent death metal record for sure. Alright, we got Chimera and their second album. Now, Nothing Remains has been a long-time favorite metal song of mine for years and years. So I've never actually fully listened to this record. And I do like how it's more of like a metalcore-esque record. Like that sounds more along the lines of like Hatebreed than it does like new metal with a sound that's kind of that of like, I guess like Soulfly, El Nino, and more in like the hardcore vein. It definitely seems like a more focused record. Nothing Remains is the best track on here, honestly. And while I was listening to it, I wish I focused on it a bit more, because like this entire month has just been a nightmare regarding, you know, Israel Palestine. But I didn't dislike any of what I was hearing though. All right, we got two more here. In Flames with Reroute to Remain. And I don't think this was as good as Clayman, but it's still a very solid record with a lot of great songs on it. It's somewhat of a change in sound from Clayman in terms of vocals. Well, because while there's still a lot of melodic death metal on here for sure, and a lot of songs like could fit on Clayman easily, there are still some experimental songs. I think one that even like is played on a 7-string. But the biggest difference, of course, being like pretty much most, if not every song on here, is all done with clean singing. But still great. Trigger's an awesome song. The title track is great. Cloud Connected, obviously. Lots of good stuff on there. Alright, and during Halloween and delivering pizzas, I was listening to the Acid Witch album, Stoned. and holy damn, it is so freaking good. Like, this is a stoner metal, sludge metal, like, essential, pretty much. I mean, obviously, Witch Tannic Hallucinations is a bit more, like, notable, but to me, that album kind of one note. There's not as much diversity in the track list for that one, especially when it comes to songwriting and tone and sound. I think this one, like, there's a lot of, like, death metal-esque riffs and growls, and the production's a bit more cleaned up. And you can argue whether or not that works in its favor or not, but for me, it really very much does. There's a lot of great songs on here for sure. Lots of great riffs that are a bit more creative than the ones that were on Witch Tannic Hallucinations. And I'm kicking myself for, like, taking so long to actually give this album a full entire listen, because it still fits that, like, Halloween vibe very, very well. And I dug it quite a bit. Alright, so that's it. My album of the month is Chevelle with Sci-Fi Crimes. And yeah, I guess I will see everybody in the next video. Sorry this took so damn long to come out. Been depressed and working way too much. Yeah, but like the video anyway, subscribe, comment what albums of these you really like or don't like, if you've heard them, etc. Be sure to hit the bell so you don't miss any videos and whatnot, or don't, whatever, you know, it just doesn't matter as long as you enjoy.